Hi, everybody. It's Jay, and I am back in the booth with you for another sneak peek video preview for this week's new release here on Say with Jay. Our new release this week is There I Find Patience. It's book number 8 in Jessie Gussman's Strawberry Sands Beach Sweet Romance series, and I've got more about the story and a live preview reading for you in just a minute, but I had a couple of things I wanted to mention. First, as you are probably well aware, this week is Thanksgiving week here in the United States, and I wanted to offer a special thanks to all of you. You guys have been so supportive and so wonderful in the year and a half-ish that since we started this channel, and I wanted to share a little Thanksgiving gift with you. Now, as I've mentioned before, YouTube has allowed us to start a membership program, which is a way for you to directly support your favorite channels. And this isn't really about that. If you're interested in learning more about it, you can hit that join button down below, or if you're on an Apple device that doesn't have a join button, you can go to your web browser and go to youtube.com/saywithjay/join to find out more. But in the membership program, YouTube allows us to provide little perks for our members. One of the perks that we do here is a daily Bible reading. It's just a few verses of a particular passage to allow you to start your day in a bright and positive way. And to say thank you, I wanted to share that membership perk with everyone. So if you are subscribed to our channel and you have that notification bell turned on, you might see notifications for a little bit more content from us than you're used to. But again, I hope you enjoy those, and thank you so much. You guys have been such a blessing to both myself and Jessie, and thank you. The next thing is not going to be a surprise to anyone who has been watching these previews. Jessie, in her books, as you well know, has been including dishes, and I've been making them for you here during these previews. Well, we thought we'd do another segment of that in a segment we like to call Cooking with Jay. This week's recipe is a dish that Griff, the co-owner of the diner there in Strawberry Sands, has come up with, his new special, and everybody in town is raving over it. It's called Smoky Kicky Italian Sausage Pasta. Now, before I get started, I wanted to give credit to where I first saw this recipe. I don't know if it is hers originally or not, but I found this recipe on TikTok. It's by a creator, Miss Emily Rose. If you're on TikTok, she's had some really great recipes that I've really enjoyed. But back to our recipe here, Griff has made this as one of his specials, and everybody in town loves it and wants it to be added to their menu as a regular item. Well, let's let you decide if you think it's worthy of that inclusion or not. So without any further ado, let's get started making Smoky Kicky Italian Sausage Pasta. As always, don't worry about getting these ingredients and directions down in real time. I'll have them listed in the description of the video down below. You may have to hit show more or see all or whatever it says on your device, but it'll be there for you. To start with, we're going to need a pound of hot Italian sausage. Get the links if at all possible. You can use ground sausage, but as you'll see in a bit, links work much, much better for what we're trying to accomplish. By the way, if you really don't like spicy food at all, you can tone down the spice by using mild Italian sausage. You're going to need 1 yellow onion diced. You need 2 jalapenos diced. Now, another way to control the heat on this dish is to seed the jalapenos before you dice them. If you really, really are averse to any kind of spiciness, you could use something like bell peppers that won't be spicy at all. You're going to need a cup of milk and a cup of heavy cream. You're going to need 2 cups of chicken broth. You'll need 2 cups of uncooked rigatoni. You're going to need a tablespoon and a half of cornstarch, 1 teaspoon of garlic powder, 1 teaspoon of sugar, 1 teaspoon of smoked paprika. Make sure you're using smoked paprika if at all possible. You need 1 teaspoon of pepper, 2 teaspoons of salt, 1 cup of shredded cheddar cheese, 1/2 cup of shredded Gruyere cheese, and 1/2 cup of Parmesan cheese. If you're not able to find Gruyere, you could certainly use any other kind of white cheese like a mozzarella, or you could just add more Parmesan and add more cheddar to make up for it. Now, the first thing you'll need to do, if you're using the links, is to get your sausage out of the casings. You can do that 2 different ways. You can use a knife to slice the casings lengthwise very carefully and peel the casings away, or you can actually pinch the links in the middle and then squeeze the sausage out of the ends like toothpaste out of a tube. Both of these methods, are they kind of gross? Yes, they are. But it is important because what we're going for here are larger pieces of sausage. If you use the ground sausage, it tends to be really fine crumbles, and that's not what we want here if we can avoid it. Once you get your sausage out of the casings, in a skillet over medium-high heat, you're going to want to add that sausage and start to brown it. You want to use a wooden spoon or a spatula or something to break up the sausage, but not one of those meat pulverizers, because, again, you want larger chunks, not fine ground sausage. Once that sausage starts to brown, then you're going to add your onion and jalapeno. I find that if you wait just a little bit before you add that, you don't overcook the onion and the jalapeno. Now, once you do get that sausage with some good browning on it, you want to add your uncooked rigatoni and turn the heat to medium. And what you're going to do is allow that rigatoni to toast for a few minutes. When you start to see a little browning on the pasta and a little translucence too as it starts to absorb some of the oil, that's when you're ready to proceed to the next step. For that step, you're going to turn the heat to low. You're going to add your chicken broth, your milk and heavy cream. Then you're going to add your seasonings and your cornstarch and stir that very well. You're going to return the heat to medium-high and allow it to come to a boil. Once you do have it boiling again, cover it and reduce the heat to medium-low. You're going to allow that to cook for 20 to 23 minutes until the pasta is tender. Once that pasta is tender, turn the heat off and allow it to rest for 5 minutes before adding your shredded cheeses. Stir in the cheese, add salt to taste, and you are ready to serve. And ladies and gentlemen, here you go. Smoky Kicky Italian Sausage Pasta. It is just so flavorful and filling and creamy. It is just everything you want a pasta dish to be. It is really surprisingly simple. It has a good many ingredients, true, but it's pretty easy to put together. And it's a pretty impressive dish too, especially. So full of flavor, like I said, and I hope you guys will make it. If you do try it, please let me know how it goes down in the comments. All right, let's talk about There I Find Patience. There I Find Patience is the story of Pam Corrigan. Pam is a longtime school teacher. She's the divorced mother of 2 adult daughters, and she's been recently feeling a lot of pressure in her job. And she makes the considered but somewhat abrupt decision to quit. And Pam is one of those personalities that, you heard the saying, in for a penny, in for a pound. Pam's in for a few pounds, because after she quits her job, she does something a bit more rash. She buys the old inn south of Strawberry Sands. Now, she realizes she actually has money to help restore this old inn because of an inheritance her aunt had left her. But it's controlled by her rather controlling mother, who refuses to give her her inheritance until she's married again. Well, Pam and her best friend and next-door neighbor, Mark Shields, devise a plan that will not only help Pam, but will also help Mark, too. Now, I don't want to spoil any more, but here is the opening scene from There I Find Patience. I hope you enjoy it. Then you'll come back this Friday for the full release here on Say with Jay. She had just made a terrible mistake. Pam Corrigan held the key that she'd been given at the closing in her hand. What had she been thinking? She sighed deeply and got out of her car, crossing the sidewalk and going up the steps to the duplex she shared with her best friend, Mark Shields. Mark owned the duplex, and when Pam's marriage had blown up 10 years ago, Mark had offered to allow her to move into the other side, which happened to be vacant at the time. Pam had moved out of Strawberry Sands when she got married and hadn't pictured herself moving back in. But with 2 teenage girls and nowhere else to turn, she'd taken Mark up on his offer, thinking it was only a temporary thing. Temporary had turned into a decade. "Good morning, Pam," Miss Heather called over. Miss Heather lived in the large house across the street, with her granddaughter and her husband, and several other older ladies. It wasn't exactly an assisted living facility, but it probably could have been. Regardless, Miss Heather was a neighbor and a good one, and Pam turned, placing a smile on her face and waving across the street. She hadn't seen Miss Heather nor Miss Daisy sitting on the porch, enjoying one of the rare warm April days. April was just as likely to be below freezing as above 80 in western Michigan along the lake. So, when a person got a warm, beautiful day like today, they needed to get out and enjoy it. Or get out and go buy an inn, apparently. Pam swallowed again. What had she done? "It's a beautiful day," Miss Heather spoke across the deserted street. "It sure is. Maybe I'll be out later on my front porch, too." "Better hurry up. I hear there's a cold front moving in, and we're going to get some rain ahead of it," Miss Daisy said, nodding sagely. "My bones agree with the weather forecast for once." "Thanks for the heads up. I need to go inside for a bit, but I definitely want to enjoy this. Who knows when it'll be nice out again." She threw up her hand and waved before she hurried up the rest of the steps and opened the door to her side of the duplex. Some duplexes had a wall down the middle of the porch, but no such thing separated Mark's side from hers. In the summer, occasionally his nieces had visited from Ann Arbor, where Mark's sister lived. They played with Pam's girls, and they'd always use the whole porch. Mark had been easygoing and a great neighbor, and Pam hoped she'd been the same. They hadn't been best friends when she moved in, but through the years, no one had supported her more. If her girls needed a daddy to go to the daddy-daughter dance, Mark stepped in. And if his nieces needed someone to bake cookies or be a room chaperone for their senior trip, Pam had naturally volunteered. But now, what Pam had just done could ruin everything. She threw her purse on the kitchen table as she walked through her duplex and out the back door. Their backyard was large and fenced in, the entire thing. Again, no fence separated her side of the yard and his side. They had never needed a fence. Sitting down, she held on tight to the key that she had seemed to be unable to let go of. Why had she quit her job again? A secure one with a guaranteed pension. That, along with her Social Security, would give her plenty of security even if her daughters never moved back home. Her empty nest had been hard for the last 2 years since her youngest daughter graduated from college and moved out permanently. Sure, the girls came home for holidays, most of them anyway, and sometimes for birthdays, definitely for Pam's. But they had lives of their own, careers they cared about, and friends and hobbies that didn't include their mother anymore. Pam really wasn't bothered by it most of the time. After all, she wouldn't want her children to be stuck at home, afraid to go out and do anything or go anywhere. Although, she really wouldn't mind spending more time with them, and wouldn't have minded at all if they had chosen to stay home and start their careers there. She missed them. Maybe that was why she had done what she did. Was this what a midlife crisis looked like? "Hey there." The voice made her smile. Mark somehow always steadied her nerves. She'd been through the typical teenage drama and angst that every parent had gone through. Mark had spent more than one evening sitting at her table after the girls had gone to bed, talking her down from a limb, reminding her that everything passed, that a catastrophe today was something to laugh at tomorrow. She appreciated his down-to-earth sensibility and the way he had always made her problems seem like they weren't quite as bad as what she thought they were. She wasn't sure how he was going to make her mother's reaction something that wasn't terrifying to her, or convince her that she would eventually laugh at it, but if anyone could, Mark could. "Hey," she said, trying not to sound depressed and petrified, the way she felt. He finished walking out across his small back porch and sat down on the steps, on his side, with a good 2 feet between them. They'd always been friends and nothing more. She appreciated his friendship more than she could say. Even now, knowing that she had just done something ridiculously dumb, just having him beside her made her feel, if not the smartest person in the world, at least like the repercussions of this day weren't the worst thing that could happen to her. "What's wrong?" he asked, not with alarm in his voice, but the confidence of someone who knew her. Sometimes she loved having a friend who knew her so well that he knew something was wrong without words, and at other times, like now, it was a pain. What was she going to tell him? "Just spit it out. I know you're sitting there wondering how you're going to tell me, and don't worry about it. Just tell me flat out." She huffed out a breath and shook her head, looking over at him with a half-smile, half-exasperated look on her face. "Really? You have to read my mind today?" "Pretty sure that's my job, isn't it?" "No. Your job is to plant flowers and trees and make people's yards look beautiful. I'm pretty sure life counseling isn't in your job description." His hands, work-roughened and brown, rested on his leg while his boots were firmly planted on the step. She always wondered why he didn't get married again. When she stopped to think about it, he was handsome, and kind, considerate, and sensitive. He was funny, too, and level-headed. He had dated occasionally, different moms who were single and classmates of her daughters, but nothing ever stuck. She wondered why. Funny thing to wonder about now. Probably it was her brain trying to come up with a way to not answer his question. I do all those things, and I provide life counseling to a very elite group of people. Actually, that group includes just you. I can't complain about your life counseling. It's always been right on for me, but I feel bad that you even have to do it. I just like being involved in your life. He was humble, too. He was always able to give her good advice because he was wise. He spent a lot of time with the Lord and in His Word, and that had a tendency to make a person wise. What did you do? How do you know I did something? Just a hunch, he said, humor in his voice. Well, it's a good one. Hi, this is Jay, and thanks for listening. If you're ready for another great audiobook, here's one we think you might like. Or check out the playlist with all our latest releases. Don't forget to subscribe to Say with Jay, give this video a thumbs up, and tell us what you liked in the comments.